when I look at where the world's going, I'm always thinking about innovation and what people really want. And number one, people want very high quality stuff, but also extreme convenience. My suits, I haven't had to have them tailored at all. They come straight to me, like perfectly fitting. And when you start getting something that's better, more versatile, better fitting, and it's still like half the price of like its competition, I think that's a great place to be. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Wealthy Way podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Pineda, and today I've got a special announcement. I've actually partnered with a company and started my own clothing line. You guys have heard me talk about it before. Obviously, I love fashion and looking good and everything else. And this brand that I'm about to tell you about, I actually have the co-founder with me right now on the show, is a brand that I've been very interested in for years, and we'll talk about that here on the podcast. But we've created a brand new collection together, and so it's super exciting. I've got the co-founder of Sene with me, Ray Lee. What's up, man?
Hey, man. So glad to be here.
Yeah, so we're actually, this is a different set for those of you watching on YouTube. We're here in my master bedroom sitting room, and this is the first time ever filming here. Behind me is my wife's half-painted lions, and we got a bunch of books, leather-bound books, and I actually kind of like the vibe in here.
It's really nice, actually.
We right now we're filming like photo shoots and film for this new collection we're launching together.
Very pumped about it. It's going to look amazing.
So before we talk about the collection and why people need to get it, let's talk a little bit about what Sene is. Probably a lot of people aren't familiar.
Yeah, so we're a sizeless clothing brand. We want to be the first sizeless fashion house. And essentially, that's a designer brand where we don't have any standard sizes. Most brands have 4 to 5 sizes. We make size U. Everything is custom fit to you. And it's not just suits. It's everything for, everything from joggers to bombers. We do have a stretch suit, jeans, like it's everything, but it's exactly how you want it to fit.
Yeah. And let me add to that. So you guys may have seen me speak on stage at WealthCon with my suit that's got the 2 stripes on the arm. That's what Sene, that's a Sene suit. And they call those the Enzo stripes. They're really cool. We'll get into that. In fact, I'm actually wearing the joggers right now. You can see that they've got the 2 stripes. Like these are Sene joggers. But to your point, Ray, we've got a bomber in the collection. We've got suit. We've got denim that's like super nice, like the Japanese denim. We'll talk about all the detail stuff. But like, point is, I love the brand, and I've been wearing it for a really long time, well before this partnership, and so I'm pumped for it, and we'll talk about that. But let's talk a little bit about just sizeless, okay? Like that's something to me that stuck out about the brand of like, how the heck can you create this tailored-loodon't suit? Like my suits, I haven't had to have them tailored at all. They come straight to me, like perfectly fitting. Like I don't have to do anything. How is that possible?
Yeah, so we have this technology that we made called Smart Fit. And so we use AI to create your unique fit. It's interesting because there was actually an earlier version of the business that failed, and we can talk more about that later.
Of course, you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah. But what was interesting is we had a retail store, we were fitting people in person, but we started realizing there are shortcuts to understanding someone's ideal fit. That there were these factors that would give you a signal about what a person's body was shaped like, but also how they preferred things to fit. And we were like, we could build a technology around this, and it can get smarter the more data it gets. So that's how we figured it out.
Yeah, and like when you do the Smart Fit quiz, it literally takes 60 seconds, and I think it's like 10 questions or so. You put your height, your weight, you put what kind of style you want. You put like tailored, relaxed, straight fit. I like my clothes really tailored. And so, everything I get from Sene is always just like it fits nice and snug, but not like super crazy. But yeah, I mean, like I was amazed. To be truthful, like when I first ordered, I was like, dude, there's no way this is going to fit the way I think it's going to fit. And I put in all my specs. It took 1 minute. And sure enough, when I got the suit back, it was legit. I was like, holy crap, this is crazy, dude.
That experience that you have is what keeps us doing it. Is it's so fun. We want it to feel like magic, and that when you get it, it's just the way you've always wanted it.
So what do you do if it doesn't fit? Like, how often does that even happen?
Yeah. So 95% of the time, it's perfect out of the box. And but there is the 5% of the time, and that's going to keep on going down as SmartFit is a machine learning algorithm. So it gets better over time. But for the 5% where it comes back, a lot of the times what we're actually doing is donating the clothes. And so, our whole thing is to be sustainable, reduce fashion's footprint on, the environment. And so we've partnered with a local charity called Covenant House, and they help get at-risk youth on their feet. And so we donate to them. A lot of these kids are then wearing it for interviews because they don't have clothes that look really great. So yeah,
they're getting a nice suit.
Yeah, they're getting some really nice stuff to go out there and interview and find jobs. And
yeah, no, that's so cool. And I mean, for the suit, every suit I've ever bought in my life, I had to go get it tailored. Like, there has not been one. And usually I would go to like the store. Like, I was buying suits at Suit Supply for a while here in Vegas, and like, I would go to the store. I'd spend like $1,000 on a suit. They'd tailor me up. That cost another couple $100, and then like I'm out the door for like $1,200 on this suit. And yeah, it fits good, but a lot of their suits also are very like firm. Like, they're not stretchy. They're not like something you want to move in. They're very formal. But with your guys' suits, they're like very athletic, and they're kind of athleisure type suits.
yeah, that's right. So we, I think the initial idea came back in the day. I would say it's about 4 years ago. I was in New York, and I saw that a lot of guys in corporate were starting to wear stretch trousers. And I thought, well, it'd be really interesting to see a custom suit that was machine washable, 4-way stretch, was entirely made with athleisure fabric. And we did a ton of research. We found that the top athleisure fabric mill in the world is in Japan. And then we're like, let's see if we can put that together. Got the prototype, put it on, and I did, one of these stretching motions. And I was like, oh, this is it. this is special. And then kind of led into that.
So yeah, with your suits, I just, for fun, went and golfed with it and shot basketball with it, played some pickleball with it. And I mean, it wasn't restrictive. It didn't rip. Like, it was fine. So it's definitely like the most comfortable suit I've had. And the reason I also like it is because I've gone and spoke at events where like I had to fly in that morning to speak that night or afternoon, whatever. And so like, instead of having to go change and stuff, I've literally just worn the suit on the plane. Doesn't wrinkle. I go and it's legit.
It's awesome, man. Yeah, I think if you travel a lot, it ends up being kind of the ideal suit. A lot of our customers, they'll say, we get notes like, oh, I have a bunch of Prada suits, which are great, but they're in my closet and I only travel with Sene now,
Well, and let's talk about that, because you were telling me before too, like the pants, they're these Japanese denim type pants that are very stretchy. I mean, I wouldn't call them athleisure, but like you could walk around like they're athleisure. And you were saying that, yeah, like Prada and these other companies use the same exact denim that you guys use, but I mean, obviously they charge like crazy money.
Yeah, that's right. So there's this mill in Japan. They pioneered the original indigo dyeing techniques. And so they've been doing it for half a century. They Acne, Prada, AG, all these top tier brands work with them. And so, for us, we're always like, let's work with the best mills in the world. And so this denim that, we've created together is from that mill. And what I love about it in terms of that, what we call air denim, is that it's really stretchy. But the problem with stretch jeans a lot of times, and this used to frustrate the crap out of me, is I like it fitted too. But you'd wear it out of the wash, it's perfect. Then you wear a couple days, it starts to get more and more baggy. This particular denim actually has a dual core weave. So that enables this thing called memory stretch. It doesn't get stretched out. So you can wear 100 times, it'll still be just as fitted. And I think that makes it better for travel. You don't have to worry about it as much, and it's super comfortable. So I'm really excited for other folks to try out this thing that we've.
Yeah. Well, once again, before I ever did this partnership with you guys, like I was a user. And it's funny because for years I could never find the jeans that fit me right. Like I have a 31-inch waist and I got pretty thick legs from my baseball days. I've got pretty big calves. So like anytime I buy a size 31 of other stuff, they're either like they're skin tight. The calves like the pants ride up and stay up because my calves like kind of hold them, and they're just annoying. Like I've always had to go get my jeans tailored, and I never could find a good brand. And then it's ironic. I'll actually tell the story how I found out about you guys. So I got on YouTube in 2020, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to be on camera. I might as well like really step up my dressing game. Like, and I was always like I always look good, but like, I was like, I got to step it up even another level. And so I started buying suits like I was talking about. I would buy them at Suit Supply and other things. And I put it on Instagram one day. I was like, hey guys, what's a good suit company that I could order suits from and, other business entrepreneur type clothing. And multiple people sent me Sene. And they're like, hey, check out this company Sene. They got Sizeless clothing. I was like, okay. So I go on the website and I look and I'm like, okay, this is really cool. Like, I don't know if I believe it or not that you can actually get a suit. Cause I'm a skeptical guy by nature. That's just how I am. I was like, but let me at least buy like, I don't know if I want to drop money on a suit right now, cause I just dropped all this money on this other stuff, but let me at least like try denim and other things. And so, I tried it and I was like, dude, this is great. Right. Like the products were great. They fit properly. Like it was amazing. And then I ended up sending you guys a DM. This was like late 2020. I was like, hey, I'm a big fan of you guys. And if you ever want like a face or if you do any kind of like influencer stuff, like I'm open to doing it just because, it's like a good synergy. And unfortunately for me, I wasn't big enough yet. And so I didn't get a response, but
I can't believe we didn't get back to you.
it's all good. It's all good. I mean, I was a nobody back then. So, fast forward, almost 3 years later, a venture capitalist who came to my office with a different company is like, hey, Ryan, I think like you'd be a really good fit for something else I'm invested in. And I was like, okay. Yeah. He's like, dude, I mean, like the way that you dress, I think it'd be great. He didn't tell me the name or anything. I was like, cool. And so then he group texts us. He's like, hey, this is Ray. He's the founder of Sene and all this stuff. And I was like, Sene? I already know what that is. Like, I've been using that. And he's like, oh, that's great. Like, cool. And then, we got to talking and you guys sent me some of the suits and everything. I was like, dang, dude, these suits are sick. Like, I should have bought them earlier. And then, got the bomber and everything. And like, I've always, now I just wear it at events and, all this other stuff. So it's just kind of like funny how everything ended up playing out.
That's so wild because I remember when, our investor Ethan texted me and he's like, hey, Ryan. I was like, oh yeah, totally. I mean, that'd be awesome. And then I went and checked the IG history and I was like, wait, how did we miss this from years ago? So I'm so glad that,
Well, as long as that person's fired, we're good.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah, no, it's just funny how like life plays like that, right? And for me, it's kind of surreal because like I never thought, like I thought that one day I might start my own clothing brand or something. Like anybody can do that. And like, you see these content creators who have merch and stuff. But I've always said, I'm like, look, I don't want merch. Like I want legit stuff that I want to wear. Yeah. Right. And so that's why I've always been a big fan of like the brands I wear. So like I've had my good friend Stephen Borelli on, who's the founder of Cuts. And so people always ask me like, yo, what are like the t-shirts you wear? And I'm like, it's Cuts. Like you don't have to pay me anything. Like they're great. I just love the shirts. And then when I started wearing your guys' suits at my events and stuff, because they're very recognizable with the stripes, people are like, dude, what are those suits? They look comfy. Like they're sweet. And I was like, yeah, it's Sene. And like, we weren't doing anything. I'm just like, yeah, it's Sene. Like, check it out, dude. They're legit. But then you text me and you were like, bro, I think like we could actually do more together. Yeah. And I didn't really know what you meant. I was just like, yeah, dude, I'm happy to like help out. It's just, I'm a fan.
Yeah. I mean, I was I was really excited because I think even when Ethan texted me, he was like, oh, maybe it's like a normal influencer thing. But I think both your own entrepreneurial journey and your personal style, honestly, and then the fact that you are a true like user and aware of the brand, right? And so I think the combination of your look, who you are, and your design aesthetic, I was like, guys, I know we haven't done a collection quite like this before, but I think something with Ryan could be really successful. And so, yeah, man, we was like, let's just jump right into it.
Yeah, you were like, so here's my vision. I was like, whoa, like you want to create a whole collection with me? I was like, that's tight. And so like, we ended up going through the process, and like the tag says Sene X Pineda. We got some Easter eggs in there that like inside the coat it says the way, for wealthy way. And then it's like my favorite pieces. Like I got to pick like a new custom denim color that I really like. It's a dark indigo color, and then we picked the bomber jacket, the suit. We even had a prototype shirt that we just decided we were gonna throw in like today.
Yeah, literally, I saw you walk out, and I didn't realize that Christy, who does all our styling, put that one on you, and I was like, that looks really nice. And I was like, wait, that's the prototype. And we had actually slated it to launch in like much later in the year, but it was like, you look amazing at it. This should be. Let's just go.
Yeah, dude, the collection is fire. We went through all the curating and everything, and I know, by the time this episode drops, it'll probably be available for pre-sale. So if anyone is interested, we are doing 10% off on the collection. All you got to do is just use the promo code wealthy. That tells us you're watching this podcast, and it's just going to be on scenestudio.com. That's right. Yep. And Sene is spelled SENE, so SENE studio.com. You'll see the collection on there. It'll say the Pineda and Sene collection, and go check it out and use the promo code. But what does Sene mean?
Yeah. So it's actually an old French word. It means uncountable. And the idea is that, we're much more than a standard size. We're more than just a number, that everything is made for you. And yeah.
So, okay. I thought it like maybe had to do with like the word scene with SCENE, like a play on words.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we end up being able to use it that way. So it's like, it's both you're in your own scene, right? Like in my scene, it's also being seen with Sene, so certainly there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with that. But I think initially we had wanted to find a word that felt iconic and timeless and had this beautiful symmetry in terms of the actual letters.
Yeah. I like the different looks too, because like, people maybe will be roll over here on YouTube, but like, the suit is the suit and it's great. Right. But then right now I'm just wearing a t-shirt and the joggers, which, are nice, like athletic, comfortable fit. And then like you're wearing a different color of the prototype shirt, right? And then you've got like the relaxed fit style jeans, which I like that color too. Those are like nice.
Yeah, this is like a wash black color. I ended up testing all the new fits, and this is like there's a gusset that we're testing out on the denim. So gusset, and without giving too much of the camera, there's actually a diamond right here, and it's a durability update that we're testing, which is so that if you're like a hardcore biker, it can cause a lot of friction on this area. And so we're testing something out that we have in our transit pants and seeing how it feels on denim.
Who's biking in jeans and stuff?
It's funny, like New Yorkers who are on their city bike.
Got it.
Jetting around town.
Yeah, we don't do that in Vegas. It's too hot and there's no like. No, that's funny. I forget you got the New York background. Speaking of that, how the heck did you even start Sene? Like, what possessed you to like create a sizeless clothing company?
I was never. Some people always knew they wanted to be a founder, and for me, my folks immigrated to the U.S. They wanted me to climb the corporate ladder, get a good education, become a partner at a firm somewhere. That was the dream. And then my wife actually was always very entrepreneurial. And when we went on our honeymoon, that was the first time where we were like, you know what? We don't want to work for the man anymore. We want to build our own thing. And I was traveling for work. I was actually rolling out the rebrand for a company called Qualcomm. And they like invented LTE technology. And I was in Shanghai. We had a custom suit made. And a buddy was like, I don't know what design choices to make here. And that was the first time it hit me. I was like, why are all the cool designer brands, why do they only carry like 4 sizes? And there were so many brands where I love their aesthetic, love the vibe, but the fit wasn't right. And then I felt like a lot of the custom clothing companies were only suits, very traditional and no design point of view. So there was this idea of like, what could you combine a beautiful design, beautiful branding, and get rid of sizes and make it all custom fit and make it more everyday. Like, and you could wear like all sorts of categories of clothing. So that was the initial inkling. And that actually gave birth to a company that became Sene today. We called it Suitable actually in the early days.
Okay. That's not a bad name.
It was, not bad for a person.
It sounds like techie.
Yeah. Which in some ways ended up being a problem because we wanted to lean hard into brand and to be like a true fashion brand, but Suitable felt like a suit service.
Yeah, it sounds like an app.
Yeah, that's right. So there was a point where we were like,
and you kind of are locked into suits.
You're totally locked in, and it really feels just for men, and we do, men and women. And we wanted the brand to also not feel, I think it's important if you want to be an enduring brand that you can't feel too new. It needs to feel like it's always existed.
Right. Okay. So you end up starting Suitable, and what did you learn from that experience? Because you said it failed.
Yeah. So essentially, the story was, it was a nights and weekends project at first. I was still doing brand consulting during the day. And it actually just happened because some other friends were like, oh, I heard what you did for this guy. Can you sell me some stuff? And I was like, I'll throw up a website. It seemed like a fun creative exercise. And then ended up going full time on it. We opened up a retail store in LA.
Got it.
The problem is, if you look at over the last 10 years, a lot of people have tried to do this custom fit thing at scale. And most have either kind of gotten stuck or gone under.
Why? Why do you think they failed?
I think it's because most people have treated it too much as a technology, like just as technology innovation. So they're hitting people over the head and saying, like, look, I have this custom fit thing. Do you want to buy it?
But the style sucks.
Style is terrible. There's no, and at the end of the day, our relationship with our clothing is like highly emotional. We don't buy clothes because just for the fit. We buy it because of how the brand makes us feel about ourselves.
Yep.
And we buy it because of the narrative and the creativity. Like, if you wear a Saint Laurent t-shirt, it makes you feel really rock and roll, right? If you wear Maison Kitsune cardigan, it's fun and playful and Parisian. And so the world building and the thoughtfulness around design and quality is actually the most important thing.
Mm.
And then custom fit is about, I can get that in a way that I feel really good in. So it's because what can happen is you find a great designer, you buy the thing, you put it on, you're like, crap, this looks terrible on me. And that happens, over 70% of people say that it's very hard for them to get something that's just right off the rack. Like they end up going back to the same brands, right?
100%.
So it was like, what if you could let creativity and fit not be at odds with each other and they could like kind of combine? And I think that was a huge unlock for us, was realizing like, dude, the brand like really matters. Product really matters. And then also sizing. I think the main thing is people have been you have brands like Indochino who have tried to custom fit people through retail stores, which is fine. But it's actually really hard to train people to measure people in person.
Also, I don't really want to go do that. Like, but I mean, just truthfully, everything now is so just like you can order it. So like, here's an example. I remember when I was growing up, you would never buy shoes online. Like you had to go try them and see if they fit, see how they felt, all that, right? Now, like very few people do that. Like you just buy your shoes online and you live with it. And usually it's pretty good, right? There might be a sizing issue with a new brand, but you basically know how a Nike is going to feel and whatever. And then I remember when you're buying your first car, it's like, oh, we got to test drive it. We got to see all these things. And then Tesla's like, nah, dude, like you just order it.
Add to cart.
Yeah, add a car to cart. You don't even have to like test drive it or haggle. Like just buy it. Yeah. And then all of a sudden they're the most valuable car company in the world. And like then Amazon and all this other stuff, it was like, hey, did you know you don't really have to pick your groceries? Like we can just deliver them to your door and somebody can do it. And so when I look at where the world's going, I'm always thinking about innovation and what people really want. And number one, people want like very high quality stuff, but also extreme convenience. That's what they want. And whenever I see a company doing that, I know they're on the right path. I'm like, bro, if you can create something that's so simple to use, Steve Jobs was the biggest proponent of that. Like, yo, if it's easy to use, make it easier. How do we make it so easy and simple? So if you can make something that's easy, convenient, it has, great utility, it solves a like you're going to crush it. Yeah. And, just to hear your vision of Sene and to be a user of it, I'm like, yeah, dude, I do not want to go get my suits tailored. I hate getting my pants tailored. Like right now, I bought something from a different brand. It was like some jackets, and like I have short arms. I have T-Rex arms.
I have the same thing.
Yeah.
T-Rex arms.
Yeah. And I'm like, bro, freaking every jacket I buy, I have to go to the tailor, get it done. It sucks.
That's so funny. I actually have the same. We probably have similar builds.
Yeah.
I think that was the hard thing for me too, because some jackets are, you can't even alter them, right? Like if you have a leather jacket, depending on how
like
the sleeves are,
or something.
Exactly, and then you can't, or you have to like deconstruct the shoulder, insert,
Yep.
So, and I remember distinctly for myself, there was this one time pre-scene where there was a Ralph Lauren black label jacket, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I think I got it, and then I spent $300 to $400 on altering it. And because I was in between these two sizes, it still looked weird on me.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that's a challenge. Like if there's some garments you alter it, it works. Some, they're just not.
And I would say too, for anyone listening, this has nothing to do with this collection, but to me, people always want to buy the big brand name or whatever, but how it fits to me is the most important aspect of any piece of clothing. I don't care if you're wearing, like I used to wear Old Navy jeans that cost $30 because that was the best fit I could find for my body. And I'm like, dude, I'd rather wear the Old Navy jeans than some designer brand $400 pair of jeans that like looks worse even, but it's designer. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, it just, you just feel different when it fits the way that you want, right?
Yeah.
And to have both, I think, is the greatest thing, is if you can get quality and fit.
Well, I think too, what you wear is like the first way people identify you, right? Like we like to say that, oh, don't judge a book by its cover and all this stuff. It's like, no, like everybody judges everybody by the cover. So how you present yourself is the first thing I'm literally going to judge you by, right? Like, okay, are what kind of clothes are you wearing? Do you have a nice watch? Do you like, and rich people don't have to have a nice watch or anything, but like if you see somebody with a nice watch and you see somebody who wears their clothes properly and like has, just like they look like they're taking care of themselves, you're like, okay, this person like obviously values like who they are and what they do. And then there are people you're like, dude, did you even shower today? Like, what are you doing? That's right. So, if you want to work with people and make an impression and get more clients and, like how you present yourself is so important.
Well, what's interesting too is you also judge yourself based on how you dress.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of power when you get your wardrobe to be something that makes you feel really good about yourself. This is a whole other topic, but we've noticed how impactful it is for women to shop from Sene, because they talk a lot about like body dysmorphia and how standard sizes make them feel like their body is weird. And we're like, well, actually, it's not that you're weird. It's just
The clothing industry is
yeah,
weird.
yeah, it's weird, exactly. And then it's amazing because we get all these emails from people where they talk about how transformative it is for them to get jeans that fit.
Yeah.
And if that's cool.
Yeah.
And so I think to your point, right? It's both. It changes the way other people look at you, and it changes the way you look at yourself. And that's clothing is such a weird category. In that
Yeah.
way.
No, 100%. I'm glad you brought that up because in baseball we used to have this saying that look good, feel good, play good.
Yeah.
And that's truly like, let's just take that to business or whatever, right? It starts off with looking good. Like if you look in the mirror and you're like, yo, I'm actually proud of how I look and who I am. Like that's step one to even doing anything, right? If you don't like how you look and you don't like how you feel, I mean, that's why people talk about it all the time. It leads to depression. It leads to, all these crazy thoughts. And it's like, yeah, I mean, like if you've lost that battle, like how are you going to win the other battles, right? Like you're fighting uphill. So it starts with looking good. And, clothes are a piece of that. Obviously, health and working out and diet, all that plays a role too. So, it's not just your clothes, but, if you got clothes that fit no matter what your body is, you're giving yourself the best chance, period.
That's right.
Right? But yeah, look good will make you feel good. And then in baseball, we play good, or in business, perform well, close deals, whatever.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's so true, man. I mean, there is something about how, I mean, we're in a world right now with a ton of fast fashion where everything is disposable. And I think there's certainly value in like that. I'm not here to crap on that. I think, I buy Zara sometimes.
Yeah.
And, but I do think this, I'm seeing a return to investing more in your clothing. And, yeah. So there was because the fast fashion really took off in the late 1990s.
Fast fashion, are you just saying like cheaper clothes or what?
Yeah, like
H&M,
Zara. Yeah, like Zara really came around in like the late 1990s. So we saw a huge surge of that, and then that tide is starting to change.
Yeah.
And for a number of reasons, but I think we've for a long time thought about clothes as like this highly disposable good, like paper towels.
Yeah.
But now.
And I'll say that too, even myself. So I was ultra frugal, even when I was like really making good money. And it's funny because, I was wearing the $30 Old Navy jeans and like whatever, I was fine with that. But like even Nike and stuff. So like I always wore Nike growing up, and it's like, all right, Nike's good. And then Lululemon comes out and you're like, wow, this is like a whole tier above Nike. Right. In terms of quality, right? And like the cost is double or triple of what Nike is. And I remember seeing some of my baseball buddies buying it and wearing it. And I'm like, dude, you guys are crazy. Like, because we were on the minor leagues making no money. Yeah. And I'm like, you guys are crazy to be buying these $130 sweatpants. Nike, you can go get Nikes for $40. And they're like, bro, you got to try it. And so I tried my first pair. I was like, I get it. I was like, I would rather have one of these than two of these. Like, it is quality over quality. I can only wear so many clothes. Like, I would rather have a nice quality clothes or, whatever. And then I saw the same thing happen with, like t-shirts. So like before Steven and I were friends at Cuts, I remember like seeing Cuts and I'm like, dude, these are freaking $50 blank t-shirts. Are you crazy? And at the time I had like Hanes t-shirts for like $10 or whatever, $5 or $10. I'm like, who in their right mind is going to pay $50 for a normal t-shirt? And, I don't even know how I ended up trying, but I bought one and, all of a sudden I wore it and I'm like, oh, like this is a different level. Like, not only does it feel way high quality, but like I look way better in this shirt than the Walmart shirt. And
it's amazing what I think Steve and Cuts have specifically done in that category. I mean, it's just really incredible because I have talked to founders of other t-shirt brands that are jealous that Steve has created a brand that can justify
a $50 blank
$50 blank tee. Yeah. They're like, we're selling $20 tees, and we have to do it in bundles, and you can sell a single tee
for $50.
yeah. So that's that's
Well, and I saw, Built do it as well, and I still think Cuts is, a tier above Built. But they're selling, 30, 40, $50 t-shirts too, and actually Built has some other stuff I like too. But the point of this is like, okay, you've got this rise of Cuts. You've got Sene. You've got, throw Built in there. Like you now have these e-commerce brands that don't even have physical locations. Well, I know Steve was telling me they're opening up a retail store, but nonetheless, like they're becoming big companies just online. People can't ever see the product and go into JCPenney's and try it on, whatever. I don't even know if JCPenney's around, but you get my point. Like there's no way for them to try it other than what they see online, yet these companies are thriving because they don't have the overhead of retail and everything else, and they can create a better product.
Yeah, I think there's a couple different advantages to it, which is one is I think digital marketing has really been such an unlock for e-com companies. I mean, being able to run ads and targeting customers in a way that you just never could back in the day. I mean, I just think 15 years ago, it was much harder to scale a clothing brand at the speed at which you can now. Just the tools that are out there, the ways to find people, the internet and social media. It's so basic, but I think we're in a very fortunate time to grow direct-to-consumer brand.
Dude, this is why I'm so passionate about like everything we're doing at Wealthy Way, because at the end of the day, like anybody can start a business online right now. I mean, you want to create content, you want to start a service-based business, consulting, education, real estate, like it can all be done online from your home. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like what an incredible time to be an entrepreneur. The internet's unlocked so many things, and yeah, so I think there was a while where people thought you couldn't be a direct-to-consumer brand and grow to the scale that these companies are growing entirely online. And there's value in diversification and changing your channels, but yeah, it's incredible. I would say one thing that's really changed in the last 5 years is that for a long time, it was so cheap to run Facebook ads that anyone could scale quickly and could have a crappy product.
Yeah. If you're a good marketer.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's changing now.
Yeah.
One is venture money has really dried up for a lot of these D2C companies. So being profitable is so important now. And then secondly, you really have to build a good brand. You really have to invest in quality product, quality brand. And I think it's a good thing. It's basically calling out all the crappy companies.
Yeah, it's just the cream is rising to the top. So let's talk about that, right? Like profitability wise, I remember I was talking to Steven when I interviewed him about Cuts, and we're talking like, Louis Vuitton could sell a shirt for $1,000 and it costs them still $10 like to produce that shirt. Like the Sene shirts and the Cut shirts are much higher quality than the Louis Vuitton shirt. Like I've worn it, I have it, and I'm like, bro, this shirt, whatever. I'm literally paying them because it says Louis Vuitton, right? But that being said, like I'm curious how your business model stays profitable because, like you said, you don't have sizes. Like everything has to be made like to order, I would assume. So how are you able to stay profitable? And what kind of like margins can you realistically make with that method?
Yeah. So what's interesting is that we have comparable margins to a lot of other direct-to-consumer clothing brands. And it's because we have our, you basically have two costs. You have your cut and sew cost, and then you have your fabric cost. Now, our fabric costs, we can buy our fabric in bulk, but the big difference is, for example, denim, right? We buy blue and black denim, and then at the point of purchase, we can wash it and distress it into that given cut. Whereas if you're a normal denim brand, if they carry the amount of styles and SKUs that the sizes we can service, they would have over 5,000 SKUs they have to carry sizes for. And we just buy, yeah. So it's for us, we essentially are zero inventory, but we still buy fabric that we can hold.
Zero inventory, but made to order. You have like, you have the I forget what they call it. the material, I guess. Like you have all the components and it's just sitting there waiting to be made.
Exactly. And we can use it across a bunch of different products, right? Like for Flex Tech, we can use it in joggers and bombers and suits.
So it's all the same Flex Tech.
It's the same Flex Tech.
This is the same thing in this jogger that the suit has.
Yes.
That's crazy. That's why it feels so great.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it creates like a uniformity across the collection. It's also easier on the way we think about our supply chain.
Yeah. So you're just buying a bunch of blue Flex Tech fabric. That's it.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, it's funny because now we have a lot of folks who ask us like, oh, I want to start a fashion brand. Like, give me some advice. And we always say, look, I would never start a normal fashion brand. It's way too hard. There's too much inventory you have to buy.
Yeah.
It's super complicated.
A lot of overhead.
A lot of overhead. And in our case, we're not really running like a normal fashion brand. So in your question about profitability, I think we hit profitability this year, so that's a big milestone for us. We're profitable year to date, and
you guys have been venture backed, and
so
just getting everything off the ground and the concept and the tech and everything.
Yeah. So we feel pretty good about the amount we've raised because I think we've raised 1.8 million to date, and it's actually primarily angels. We have like former head of strategy for Nike at North America, former chief digital officer at Under Armour, a couple of different retail veterans. But a lot of them were started as customers.
Yeah.
And then they got it and they just came in. So we've been mindful of like, we want to run a profitable company. We don't want to be one of those companies that raise a buttload of money and then can't exit.
Just can't figure it out.
Exactly. We would have liked to raise less if we could, but we're building some tech alongside and that required some investment.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think we want to build a sustainable company that is here to last for decades.
Yeah. So basically walk me through the process. Like you're obviously buying the raw material and then somebody puts an order in. What happens?
Yeah. So, that person placing the order, they take SmartFit. It generates a unique digital. There's two parts that happen with SmartFit. We generate a digital clone of their body, and then we extrapolate that into what we call a digital technical pattern. So it's like a CAD file for their clothing.
Wow. That's crazy.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It gets, because back in the day, that was totally manual. When Trunk Club was doing custom suits, it took them a week to generate that pattern. We do that instantly. And then that goes to the factory. That's laser cut, hand assembled. We have a couple different factory partners. And then that's made to order. It takes generally about, t-shirts take, 2-3 days, and polos and whatnot. But the other categories take about, like the jeans, the suits, the bombers, joggers. It takes about, 2 to 2.5 weeks. And then that gets, that's all, everything's made to order for you. Then it gets sent to the customer and then they get to try it on.
Wow. That's crazy, dude. The fact that everything, like you don't carry just racks and racks of like, okay, we got to order, 1,000 larges, 1,000 medium. Like
I can't imagine having to deal with that. Yeah, it's crazy. Props to, I think, like, for example, Steve being able to do what he's done with cuts and be bootstrapped. That's incredible because, and what Ben Francis did with Gymshark bootstrap to get there. That's incredibly hard to do. And I think most people who are not in apparel have no idea the difficulty it takes to do that because you have all these, Everlane, massive company, right? But has just taken on a ton of debt and venture money to just stay alive.
Right. So with you guys, you had suitability first that failed. And then you've had to raise debt. Like, how did Sene get off the ground? How does a new company actually make waves and get to this point?
Yeah. Also, when we had the retail store, we were in LA. We were on the super expensive street in La Brea, huge nut per month for rent.
And this was Sene's first store or suitability?
This was, it was sort of the Suitable business model with the Sene name, but totally different. Like you wouldn't recognize it from what we are now. Like we were selling wool custom suits.
Wool suits.
Yeah, wool suits out of a retail store measuring people in person.
Okay.
It's totally different business, right?
Yeah.
And nothing like that unique in terms of our design. We had 2 months of cash left. Mark and I, our significant others were like, maybe it's time. Like, you had a good run.
You tried to be an entrepreneur. Good
Yeah,
job.
yeah. And I think at that point we thought, no, we're not thinking big enough. We need to think bigger. And we realized that if we wanted to do this, we need to build a brand that can compete with the biggest brands in the world. Like, we have to think that we can deliver on that level. Like, you can't try to be in the middle ground, be a mediocre brand that's doing custom fit. Like, it's got to be
You're cream of the crop, or you're the lowest priced.
Yes.
There's only two things. Nobody wins in the middle.
Absolutely. And I think we didn't believe in ourselves enough up to that point.
Okay.
And at that point we realized, no, we can do it. And so we created the first version of the FlexX suit, created the first version of Smart Fit.
But before you go any deeper, though, let me ask this question, because as somebody who has failed at lots of things in business, it's usually the failures and the lessons you learn that allow you to make the proper decision. So my guess, based on what you just told me, was that you did these wool suits that were kind of boring, that were laborious. You had to go measure everybody. And after, like, not working and failing, you're like, dude, literally, like, if we just do the exact opposite of what we just did, it's probably going to be a lot better.
Yes. We're like, what is everything that is terrible about our business model? And let's not do it. We were like, it takes way too long to fit people for something. Can we automate that? Our products are too generic. What's one exceptional product we can make? And let's get rid of everything else. And then we were doing a lot of things in the wedding business. And we're like, we hate the wedding business. It's the worst. And it's just, people are so stressed about their big day. Wonderful, normal people become terrible people.
Yeah.
In their stress, right? So we thought, and it's also just, it's not creatively that interesting. So we wanted to design really cool products or make a really cool brand. So we're like, okay, all these pieces are wrong. One product, automate the sizing, do it on the internet. And then
you picked also a totally different material.
Totally different material. Yeah, we had just, it was like a grace of God thing, because we closed the store in May and relaunched Kickstarter in May 2019. And that December, I had discovered the Athleisure fabric mill. And we tried on, the first FlexX suit. And I remember bringing it in the fitting room, doing a squat in it. This is crazy nice.
Yeah.
And we just knew this was it. Yeah. And I think we had made so many products that didn't work, that there was so much confidence in trying this one and be like, oh yeah,
this is not like any of the other ones.
Yeah.
Like, we actually really like this one.
That's right.
So you launched Kickstarter. Like, what's the process of that, man? Because I've never even thought about doing a Kickstarter. Like, how did it get momentum? Like, how much did you raise?
Oh my gosh, yeah. It was interesting, because at that point we were watching our cash week to week, because it was so tight. And Mark came up that, he's like, let's do a Kickstarter. And I was like, I don't know if I want to put ourselves out there like that. Yeah. Well, I was just thinking, we've failed so many times. Like, now we're going to fail publicly, and everyone will know the amount of money we did not raise. But at the same time, we're like, okay, this product's special. And we thought, if we're going to go out, we need to swing. So let's, like, swing hard. And we didn't really have budget for anything. So I shot the entire Kickstarter. I shot and edited the whole thing myself.
Did you have, like, a background in that
No.
at all?
No. I think I have, like, a good creative aesthetic, but I had no skills. And I remember Mark saying to me, if we're going to build, like, a creative team, I think it's good if you should learn how to do this. And
it's going to be a big part of our business.
Yeah, exactly. And there's been a lot of moments actually where Mark has coached me, like, given me, like, a push on something, that we look back on those moments and we're like, that was key. And just because I think we've been able, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah, so I shot and edited myself. And then we launched on Kickstarter. We did a 14-day campaign. We did 101,000 in sales.
Oh, wow. What was your goal?
Our goal was 10,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, you guys 10x'd it.
Yeah, it was. We were like, if we're lucky, it's going to be 20,000.
Yeah,
And then it just,
that's when you knew you had demand. You were like,
yeah,
dude, people want
yeah.
this.
Because you see some campaigns on Kickstarter that do 500,000 or a million, but what you don't know is that a lot of them actually are paying agencies to promote it, and they're running ads behind it, and so there's a whole marketing engine behind it. We had no engine. We're like, throw it up. It got featured on Kickstarter's like top things. I think we set some sort of record in terms of fashion projects that go live and how quickly it gains cash.
Wow.
So that was pretty cool to see. And we were fitting someone. Oh, here's another story. We didn't have enough cash at that point, so we were doing pop-ups at WeWorks. And we had an Amex Platinum card at that time, and they had a global WeWork membership. And we were like, we're going to go to every single WeWork that'll let us do a pop-up. We'll measure people in person for custom clothes, and we'll knock on every single office. And we were doing a pop-up at a WeWork when the Kickstarter launched. And we just saw the sales coming in. And we're like, we'll never have to measure anyone ever again.
That was a realization of like, wow, we're going to be in a totally different business now. It's going to be 1,000 times easier and more scalable. Yeah. So you guys, the Kickstarter goes great. You use that money to go now produce the suit. And like, those first suits, I assume obviously they've gotten a lot better since, but like, how has the process been the last few years since then?
Yeah, man. I mean, we've been very fortunate. We've been either doubling or tripling every year. We have, I think what's been cool is that even through periods like COVID, through like last year was a year where a lot of e-com brands were flat or didn't really grow a lot. We continued to like grow very quickly. So I think we're in this really cool time where we don't have an obvious competitor to what we're doing.
No, I can't think of one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think that will always be that way. I'm sure it'll get more competitive, but we're in a very fortunate time where
a very blue ocean.
Yeah. It's a good time for us because the proposition is so distinct, and we're just trying to get as big as we can while there's not really other folks like us.
Yeah. No, and I love it too, man. Like, we're talking about these premium brands and like, paying more for something really nice. Like, having one really nice thing versus, a bunch of crap. And so I like, when I look at Sene's prices, they're not crazy. I mean, like the jeans are like $160. Like it's not cheap, but it's also not $400. Like, to me, for $160 to get the quality that you're going to get, like it's literally the same stuff that you would get in a Prada or something else. But to also have it tailored to you, because you're going to spend an extra $50 to go tailor the jeans, right? And to know that this is going to fit exactly the way you want. And if it doesn't, they can just return it and get it refixed. Like the value proposition, when I think about a business, I'm like, man, what's the value prop? Okay. Like who am I competing against or whatever else? Like what kind of product do I have? And I'm always in the premium side of products. Like all of our products are premiumly priced. And that's where I like to live because I like nice stuff. Yeah. Like I want top-notch service. Yeah. I don't want the cheap crap. And so to see like that scene, and even the suits, I mean, the suits are like what, $600 or something, right? So for $600 on a suit, I mean, I was paying $1,200, for a tailored suit that's, in my opinion, not as good. And so it's like, man, when you start getting something that's better, more versatile, better fitting, and it's still like half the price of like its competition, and it's still like at that premium range where you're not getting junk, like I think that's a great place to be.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I think we've always been just personally passionate about quality, and I also think it's easier if our brand ever wants to offer something that's cheaper, we can, but you can't ever go from cheap to premium.
Yeah.
So,
and I don't even know that you would want to ever like make a cheap, like I don't even know what you would make.
I don't think we would ever sacrifice quality. I think just over time manufacturing costs like continue to go down.
Yeah.
And
Economies
so
of scale.
yeah,
Other things.
exactly. So, at those points you have options to, do we want to make it a little bit more affordable? Like for us, I think we'd love to at some point offer our jeans at maybe a $100 price point.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
And I think the ultimate goal is to get stuff to turn around in 7 days and but not really sacrifice quality. But
Well, and that's the beauty of tech. Like, I'm such a big believer in tech, and like I think Elon is a great example of that, where he was like, hey, starting out, I got the Tesla Roadster. It's freaking super expensive, right? And then we're going to go with the S, but then I'm going to start bringing in more affordable cars as we go along. And, he basically has continued to make them cheaper, even though we have all this inflation, because now he has this massive operation that can sustain it, and like he can actually get his costs down.
Yeah. And I think, especially with custom manufacturing, the suppliers and manufacturers are more limited. And so that scarcity drives up some of our costs. But that's going to normalize over time. Like smart manufacturing is going to be more and more normal. People are going to move toward this business model. We're going to be giving a lot of these people business. And so that's going to be more interesting.
I mean, if I'm just like now, I've never even thought about this, but thinking about the future, like I got to imagine that the Lululemons and everybody should be doing this.
Yes. And a lot of them have actually been interested in doing this for a while. So we actually went out and met with like Levi's executive team a couple months back. Actually, it was last fall. And they're just trying to see what people are doing in this space. And Levi's has tried a couple times to launch Sizeless denim, and they haven't been able to nail it. So yeah, Nike has been looking at this for a while. There, a lot of these big companies are want to cut down. For them, the biggest reason is Nike loses over $1 billion every year in terms of refunds and the number one issue is fit.
Yeah.
So that's like a huge loss on their balance sheet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think what we're hoping to do is not just do it for ourselves, but ultimately being able to be part of a sizeless like revolution. I don't think standard size will go away, but I do think in the future.
Have you thought about licensing your tech?
Yeah, I think we're open to it.
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting opportunity of like, you prove your concept, your tech, everything else, people believe. The results are good. Obviously, you've already gone through the years of trial and error that these other companies, if they don't license it, will have to go through themselves. Yeah. So, like, I think that might even be like the biggest play of them all.
Yeah. That could look a couple different ways. One is you could license it out for them to use it. Another way you could do it is you license their brand to make it yourself.
Yeah, either or. Yeah.
And that can be super lucrative because there's all these companies that will license big brands like Tommy Hilfiger and you would never know that it's not actually the brand making the clothing. It's a licensor that's using it. Because I think for us the idea is that once you take SmartFit, right, the way the engineering is done is so that you can shop from any category that is ever offered on SmartFit. And that could be another brand.
Yeah, 100%. I think like to go back to Levi's, they would create, this whole new, not a new brand, but it'd be like Levi's custom or something, like whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
That'd be so cool.
Yeah, because like you could create a whole new just like website dedicated to it. And like, the experience is like what you have now where it's like, hey, put all this, boom, 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 cool, we're going to send you your Levi's.
Yeah. That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's something we're actively, well, I wouldn't say actively, we're sort of like more.
You guys are focused on yourselves, right? But like, I see the big opportunity, not the big, but a big. Yeah. Like that will take no extra real, like you have it. Yeah. It come for me to give an example, right? Like I was flipping houses, doing great. And then everybody wanted education. Mm-hmm. They're like, dude, you have a process, you have a method, let us use it. Give it to us. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't really want it. Like, I'm busy doing my own thing. I'm focused on building my company. And then sure enough, I start basically licensing my knowledge. Yeah. And all of a sudden, this business is now bigger than this business. That's amazing. And it's way easier because like I've already built the systems, the processes, but now instead of just using it for me, imagine if you used it for 20 other companies. Yeah. like the scalability
That's
is
totally
significant.
powerful. And I think what's cool is that, you wouldn't have gotten the opportunity for the education if you weren't showing how great you were in your own business.
100%. Like you have to prove it first before anyone wants it.
But I think you're absolutely right in that, like, I think we'd love to be able to have Smartfit power these other brands. And
I think you will. And I think that would be, as Sene continues to grow as a company and like prove the concept, because if you're going to be the market leaders in this niche, which you probably already are, then it's like other people will, like you said, right now you don't really have competition. Other people will try to compete. Maybe it's big brands, maybe it's not. But like at that point, instead of competing, you're like, hey, why don't we work together on this? Like, let's make money together.
no, you're totally right. I also think what's interesting specific to our category is that SmartFit has a little bit of a network effect, because the more people that use it and purchase, the better the algorithm gets. So, ideally we get to a scale where it's like, it's not worth it to try to build this thing. Like,
yeah, like, dude, these guys have that's why Tesla's so far ahead, because think about how many cars are on the road using their FSD. They have way more data than anyone else. It's not even close. And then like they have all the chargers. Yeah. So you start thinking about their network effect. Yeah. It's just such a massive advantage over everyone else that like, yeah, everybody's playing catch up right now, but like they're never going to catch them right. Unless Tesla goes to them and they say, hey, you know what? We'll just license it to you. Yeah. And now we're going to make a killing.
Yeah. I guess they just opened up their charging network.
Exactly, right? And they're going to make, they ain't doing it for free.
Yeah.
Like they're doing something that's going to win for them.
Yes. So smart.
Yeah. Well, bro, dude, I mean, I got to just say, like, number one, obviously, I'm a fan. I'm super humbled that you guys chose me to launch this collection with. I'm not going to, do you guys wrong. Like, I'm going to be the best brand endorser ever. I'm going to be like Jordan for Nike and Curry for Under Armour. Like, I'm going to be 1,000% to the brand because I believe in the mission. I believe in what you guys do. Also, as Christians and fellow believers, like I love seeing other Christian business people do great things. I love obviously like the tech component and like the future of it. And like, I think that the future is amazingly bright, and I'm just excited to see where this, this clothing line goes, man. And it's just cool to have one.
Dude, thank you so much for doing this with us. And I think I'm particularly excited. I was telling you earlier that a lot of times it's just, this is a bit of a unicorn collab because we have our shared values, shared faith. I think what you are doing is so inspirational to so many people. And then I think the way you've conducted yourself and the way you acted and the energy that you're bringing is truly one of a kind. I mean, that's why you're doing what you are now. And I think I'm humbled to see it. And I also think I'm glad some of my team is here today to see it as well.
Awesome, man. Well, guys, go get the collection. It's up for pre-sale. By the time you watch this, it might already be up for sale. But during the pre-sale, you can go get 10% off by using the promo code WEALTHY. Go to scenestudio.com. We'll link to it down below in the description. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that podcast. Thanks for making it to the end. The good news is I've got another one that I know you're going to like, and all you got to do is click it right here. Linking it right here. All you got to do is just click it, and you're going to see this new episode that you're going to love.